Welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not News with Beth and Elizabeth.
What's up?
Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you tonight? We're recording in the evening.
I know. I drank coffee at like 6:30 p.m. to get ready for this.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. Tomorrow's Friday. I can muscle through one day.
Last night, I had this Diet Coke. I went to the 7-Eleven and I just had like a really stressful day. And that's like my thing, like Diet Coke. And, and I went to 7-Eleven and I came out with a double gulp.
Oh my gosh.
This thing was just huge. I just saw it and I was like, yes, that's what I need. And awesome. My husband was just like, oh my God, are you seriously gonna drink all that? Like, you need to tell them you asked for a large, right? You should take that back. Anyway, so I drank the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
Did. And at midnight, I was like, oh man, this is a problem. I was just up. So I didn't know.
You should have been recording last night then.
Like 2 o'clock in the morning. I would have been like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Talk about it. Let's talk about some fake news.
So I don't even know how much sleep I got. I have no idea.
Well, we were talking last week about something that we need to get better at, and that is telling people why they're listening to this podcast.
Yes. Well, I thought it would just be obvious, just right from the get-go. Oh, it's the sonorous voices and the witty banter.
Well, we thought we should maybe talk about the fact that this is a podcast about fake news.
It's true.
My name is Beth
and Elizabeth. Yeah. Who we are and why we're here.
We are two separate people. It's not Elizabeth, Beth. So anyway, I was listening to one of our favorite podcasts earlier today. I was listening to My Favorite Murder. And like us, they always struggle in the beginning to start out the podcast. But
they probably would take issue with that statement.
No, they wouldn't. If you listen to it today, they're like, how many times do we have to do this before we get this right? Like, we always say, like, let's write something out, and they never do. And they're always like, it's so awkward in the beginning. And it is, because you're just like, okay, I have to talk now, so. But anyway, Georgia said something today. I just like laughed out loud. If I had been drinking Diet Coke, it would have spit out my nose. So I had to tell you this. So Karen had said the IQ of someone was very high. It was like 169. And Georgia immediately says, oh, that's just 1 point lower than mine. And I was like, that's the best comeback when you hear an IQ. It almost doesn't even matter what the IQ is. Like, oh, that's just 1 point lower than me.
They're so funny.
They are really funny.
When people ask us, like they do with like famous, wonderful musicians, like, who were your influences? And like, oh, Bob Dylan and Nirvana, whatever, we're going to be like, who are your podcast influences? When important people are asking us questions because we're world famous podcasters, we'll say, my favorite murder.
Right. Georgia and Karen. And then, like the guys over at Cricket Media.
Yeah. A little bit.
Little inspiration from them too, I guess.
This American Life.
Yes. A lot of This American Life. Love you, Ira Glass.
Yeah. Little 99% Invisible over here.
Oh, I haven't listened to that one.
Oh, it's so good.
I also listened to Mashup Americans. That's one I listened to. I don't think you listened to.
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
They have a grant, and they always at their ending, they have like a professional ending, and it's the same every time. I don't know. You mean what
like our super professional intro? That's the same like that. Every time? You mean just like that?
Yeah, exactly. It's pre-recorded, and it says they're funded by a grant from the American National Endowment of Arts, I believe is what it is.
Oh my God, why don't we have that?
I know, and I was like, You can get a grant for a podcast? That's a good idea.
Yeah, we need money.
Right? We don't need a lot of money, but it would be nice to be able to promote it.
We need to buy coffee and Diet Coke.
Yeah. And we also need a mug that says podcast like a motherfucker. And the reason I say that is our friend who we stalk online, Jenzela Loopy, she had posted a blog and I was reading it and she has a mug that says write like a motherfucker on it. And I was like, Elizabeth, I need that mug, except for I need it to say podcast.
Oh, real quick, does she know that she's our friend?
I I hope so. I commented on one of her posts today and she commented back. And so, yeah, I think that she's aware that I pretty much like and comment on everything that she does now. So
I'm not sure that friend, quote unquote, is the word that she would use.
What is that word? When you're just, I'm just enamored with her sometimes. Like, she's so great. No, she posted a picture today of a craft that she had designed that was a pin. It looks like a cactus almost, but it's Donald Trump's head and it's for putting needles in.
Oh my God. That's
and
awesome.
I was like, so somebody had put kind of a mean comment on her blog about it, about how she shouldn't be political because she's a craft blogger. And she was kind of like, F you.
Oh no, she's like, I've passed that
First
line.
Amendment. Yeah. First Amendment lady. So I just got on there and I was like, I know I'm just a boring knitter, so I can't make your crafts anyway because I don't know how to crochet, which is magical. But I said, I haven't made any of your Donald Trump themed things because I don't want Donald Trump's face all over my house, And then I said that maybe she could donate all of her Donald Trump crafts to his presidential library. And under the guise of being like his biggest fan. And that, then he could have all the best crafts.
Oh my
Isn't
God.
that? She loved it. She thought that was a great idea.
He's going to have the best library.
He's going to have the best library. The biggest.
Huge. No, like seriously though, like in all seriousness, like I bet it's going to be fucking nuts. It's going to be gilded.
It's going to be way bigger than his presidency success.
There's going to be so much shit to talk about. And it's just going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. But I got to pause you real quick. I got to let my cat in.
Okay.
I think that my neighbors have a mouse in this pile of wood in their backyard because Thomas, my cat, sits there and stares at it for hours.
I actually caught our cat Lovey today with a bird in the front yard. And I was like, no, Lovey. And I don't know if it was wounded or if it was okay, but it was alive when I found the cat and it's no longer there. So I'm fingers crossed.
Tom showed up at our back door the other day with a mouse in his mouth. And oh my gosh, go out there and get him to let go. And the mouse is kind of freaked out and, like hopping around a little bit. And he's not running. And I'm like, run, mouse, run. And we're trying to, make sure the cat stays away. And he got away. I don't know what became of him. But yeah, it's not fun. Tom brought a bird inside the house once. And we didn't realize it, and it was like a horror movie in our hallway.
Oh,
there
no.
was like blood splattered.
Oh no!
Everywhere.
That's
holy
bad.
shit! Yeah, he was not allowed outside. He's the little hunter. He's definitely the hunter. So
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm hoping Lovey doesn't turn into one because she's not quite a year yet, so she's still kind of a kitten growing up. But
tell everyone how you came up with her name.
Do you remember a funny story about that?
It's just it was just so sweet because you're like, oh, this is lovely. And how I said, why did you pick that name? You're like, because we love her.
We had such a hard time naming her. It was terrible. We just went through name after name after name. And finally, Hannah was like, what about Lovey? And I was like, yeah, sure. We could name her Lovey, just not quite sure that one was going to stick either. And Jimmy's my husband, was like, I suggested that like 3 days ago when we were at the Humane Society holding her. It was like the first name that I said. And I was like, well, then I guess that's it. So she became Lovey.
I just think it's very sweet picturing Hannah. We call her Lovey because we love her. Like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. That is like heartwarming right there.
My eldest daughter just got a cat too, and she named it Murphy after Murphy's Law. So
that's sweet.
So now we have Lovey and Murphy, but they do not get along, unfortunately. Not yet. Lovey, well, it's Lovey. She hisses like crazy. Like, even if she just smells him through the door, she like freaks out. So Lovey apparently is not very lovey.
Not feeling the love, huh?
Yeah. So, hey, anything else we're not feeling the love for this week?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Maybe
you want to talk about some fake news?
Yeah. I was given an order this week by Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
and you gotta do what they say. I mean, they're in charge, right?
Yeah, I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she works for the White House. She's an official spokesperson for the White House, like Deputy Press Secretary. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this is from a Business Insider article, literally says this. Directed Americans to watch a video released by right-wing undercover video operation Project Veritas that showed a CNN health producer calling the network's Russia coverage bullshit.
Mm-hmm. So when Sarah Huckabee Sanders told us that we needed to go and watch this video, regardless of whether it was accurate or not.
Correct.
Yes. That is a direct quote,
yes.
By the way.
Yeah, I'll read to you what she said. She said, there's a video out there circulating right now. Whether it's accurate or not, I don't know. But I would encourage everybody in this room and, frankly, everybody across the country to take a look at it.
Who knows?
Now, okay, so let's talk just first, before we get too far into the video, let's talk for a second about what prompted this. Is that CNN pulled an article that didn't meet their editorial standards, and then 3 people resigned or got fired. Mm-hmm. Now, when that happened, I saw that and I said, good for CNN. Mm-hmm. This is what we're talking about when we talk about journalistic standards. This is what we are talking about when journalists have reputations on the line. This is what we're talking about when they have consequences at actual news outlets.
That's right. Yeah.
So good for CNN for recognizing that, hey, process isn't being followed. Not gonna work for us.
Yeah. So let's talk about that process and exactly what had happened. Okay.
So perfect.
I'm starting with an article called "A Costly Retraction for CNN and an Opening for Trump" that is dated June 27th by Michael Grinbaum of the New York Times. And it starts out, the opening paragraph says, in CNN's newsroom, it's called the Triad, a 3-pronged internal system designed to ensure that sensitive reporting by the network's journalists is unimpeachable before it runs. And then it talks about how the Triad fell short and what it seems like happened. I don't know. The way that they phrase it in this article, it makes it sound like the network executives did not get the opportunity to vet this article. It sounds like it was published, or the story, it was published without going through the process of the triad.
Wasn't one of the problems that there was only one source and it was unnamed? I had read that
yeah,
it was just one unnamed source. And so they prefer that you have more than one source if they're going to be unnamed.
Yeah, this is what it says. The triad system should have kicked into gear with reviews by lawyers, a standards and practices division, and an editorial team known collectively as the Row, which checks facts and approves anonymous sources. So then in quotes, it says, the system is so ingrained that CNN journalists often use the term as a verb, as in the story has been rowed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yes. I think that just sounds kind of cool. Just sort
I do
of like
too.
a little, little insight into what it's like over there.
Hey, do you think Breitbart and InfoWars have a row?
Yeah, they probably do. Let's see. Is this evil enough? I don't know. Can you just like inject some more bullshit into this? I don't think. Can we at least beef up the anti-Semitism in this article and the misogyny?
I found this actually happened. We need to change it so that it's not true. Their jobs are a little bit easier because they just have to come up with lies, and real journalists have to come up with facts.
So the next paragraph says, but several network officials were caught off guard when the story appeared online. So that's the line that I was kind of referring to there that makes it seem like it didn't go through the proper channels that they have. And then they have declined to talk about exactly what happened, which is their prerogative.
Right. Well, and I mean, it happens. This happens in any industry. Mistakes happen. You know, it's about your response to them. And CNN pulled the article, and 3 people no longer work at CNN. So that's an appropriate response. And apparently the person who was the target of the article, and I don't want to really get into too much about like what this CNN article is about, but the guy who it was about tweeted out and said, you know, thanks, good job, you know, appreciate you pulling that, you know, appreciate you doing what you did, kind of paraphrasing there. And that's one of the things when you watch the interaction between Sarah Huckabee Sanders and the reporter that was questioning her, he's saying, if that response is good enough for the person that the article is about, why wasn't it good enough for the president?
Oh my God, please. Come on. No way. No way. He's going to hang on to that and parade it around like Thomas the cat with his freaking mouse.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Just, yeah.
So she went on to say, after she encouraged everybody in the country to watch a video that she couldn't verify its accuracy of, to say the following: if it is accurate, I think it's a disgrace to all of media, to all of journalism. I think we have gone to a place where if the media can't be trusted to report the news, then that's a dangerous place for America. And if that's the place where certain outlets are going, particularly for the purpose of spiking ratings, and if that's coming from the top, that's even more scary and even more disgraceful. I just want to point out that, and I have watched that video of her too many times to count, mostly because we were trying to pull it to play it for you guys. And I'm just not, it didn't have a download button, and I just, just not that, we're just not there yet. But I listened to it like 1 billion times. And every time I was thinking, you mean, can you just replace that with White House? Like, I think we've gone to a place where if the White House can't be trusted to report the news, then that's a dangerous place for America.
Or the truth, yeah.
The truth, yeah. Like, it, okay. Yes, I was like getting really frustrated. And she was complaining about how Trump has just been attacked over and over again. And so, of course, this response isn't enough because he's just been attacked and attacked. And I'm like how he attacked Obama? Like, we're not even there yet. Like, he's only been doing this for 6 months.
Like how he posted a video of him physically attacking a effigy of CNN. From that wrestling video.
Yeah. And that's modern day presidential, Elizabeth. Don't be confused. It's not presidential. It's modern day presidential.
Well, it's like Kellyanne Conway said, he is the president. Therefore, by the transitive property,
still sucks me in the face.
What he does is presidential. So
the other day, I think I was reading an old article or something like pre the election, and I saw something, and it was just like President Trump, and it was just like it just had happened again. It just still sucks me in the stomach when I hear it. I'm like, ugh, this really happened. This is for real.
Yeah, like every week, John Oliver will say, President Trump, 2 words that shouldn't go together. And I just think that, like, sometimes I just hear it. Like, sometimes I kind of hear it and it's kind of like, oh, whatever. But sometimes I hear it and it just strikes me just in the weirdest way. Just, oh. I remember, like, the best sign at the Women's March said, this episode of Black Mirror sucks.
Oh, no, what's Black Mirror? I haven't seen that.
Oh my God. It's like a sci-fi kind of an anthology show on Netflix. It used to be a British show and Netflix bought it. And so they do, each one is like a standalone episode of a different technological dystopia in the future. And so it's kind of like, how does the future look in a world where, you have the technology has developed in this particular way, and it's just so interesting. And that sign just really resonates with me. And sometimes I just look at the world around me and think, yeah, that just hits the nail on the head.
All right, so I'm going to have to check out Black Mirror on.
Oh my God, Black Mirror is the best.
Okay, yeah. I'll check it out. So, based on somebody else's recommendation, I watched a different video. Because Sarah Huckabee Sanders told me to, I watched the Project Veritas video that she recommended. I'm going to have to give it 1 star.
Oh my gosh.
Her recommendation wasn't that good.
Well, I hadn't even heard about this stuff, and I'd heard about the CNN, but I just heard a little bit about it. I hadn't really read about it, and then you started talking to me about this Sanders thing, and you said, yeah, and so she wants us to watch some Project Veritas video, and I just about lost my fucking mind.
Yeah, I had to hang up the phone. I was like, Elizabeth needs to process. I was all like, hey, guess what? Sarah Huckabee Sanders was watching this video, and hey, I think we should, maybe we can talk about it. And she was like, head exploded, and she was like, I was like, okay, let's think about it then, and we'll talk tomorrow.
I just couldn't believe that, but it's like that weird confusion where it's like, I can't believe that the deputy press secretary is suggesting to people that they should watch a Project Veritas video. And then that wave that comes over, like, of course I should believe this.
Right.
Of course this is happening. As a matter of fact, anything else would be absurd. Right.
Well, we're going to get into who is this Project Veritas and everything, because Elizabeth recognized the name right away. I didn't, but once I started researching it, I was like, oh, this guy.
Yeah, this guy.
So this guy put out, I actually watched 3 videos that they made, and they aren't very long. So that was the only saving grace. The first,
I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm not going to.
I don't want you to either. I think you would curl up into a ball and quit the podcast. You'd be like, I can't handle this anymore.
I'm not going to follow orders. I didn't go and buy Ivanka Trump clothes when Kellyanne Conway told me to. I'm not gonna.
You know what I did though? I didn't buy Ivanka Trump clothes for the other side of things. I was boycotting Ivanka Trump clothes by never purchasing them. Doesn't matter that I wasn't going to anyway. I still didn't.
So I haven't been very good at following orders. So we'll see.
Well, so it starts out, I'm just going to give you kind of an overview. So basically what they do is they kind of set up sting operations. Like they record people without their knowledge, and then they heavily edit these videos to make them sound as bad as possible. So you don't know who is doing the recording or how he got this person to talk to him. But the first one is a very candid conversation with a CNN guy named John Bonifield. And it is apparent that this person is very comfortable. Like they're walking around, he's giving him a tour of CNN. They go out to lunch and they're eating. They're just wearing t-shirt and jeans type thing. So it's very like I don't know if they were putting it as like this guy was interviewing for a position or, just kind of like getting a tour of the facility. It definitely was not like, I'm interviewing you to get information type of thing.
Oh, so we still don't know the, what his ruse was?
No, we don't know what the ruse was to get in there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they start out, though, by saying CNN has mentioned Russia 16,000 times. So we sent our undercover reporters into CNN.
I'm sure they counted that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a total true number anyway. Even
right.
if whatever anyway.
So the big question is, and the big like aha moment that they have is the guy says, and this is the undercover reporter says, you think the whole Russia thing is bullshit, right? And the guy responds and says, it could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like we don't have any big giant proof. So this guy is a medical producer. Mm-hmm. That's his job. He doesn't produce stories on Russia. He doesn't even work for the political desk. He's not a news anchor. He's not a reporter.
He tells Sanjay Gupta where to go.
Pretty much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So CNN released a response that said, CNN stands by our medical producer, John Bonifield. Diversity of personal opinion is what makes CNN strong. We welcome it and embrace it. Which I thought that was a really good response as well.
So classy.
Very classy. And it's true. Like this guy was obviously just talking to somebody, a personal opinion. And what a leading question. You think the whole Russia thing is bullshit, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, could be bullshit. I mean, yeah. Like we don't have any big giant proof. Okay. Like, oh my God. Like, seriously.
So that was, okay. So maybe I should have watched the video. I'm all like, really? That's all? I thought it was going to be worse than that.
So then they go on to talk about like, is it an editorial call or a business call is their question about covering Russia all the time. Like, why is CNN covering Russia all the time? Where is this coming down that they need to be on Russia all the time? And they talked about the editorial bias and the anti-Trump agenda at CNN and leaks. And I was just like, as I'm taking these notes on one and listening, I'm like, who leaks? The White House mm-hmm. are the freaking leakers. And these Russia investigations, include people that are in the White House so they can't be briefed on what's happening on these investigations, right? So, of course, because this is what they said. They mentioned that there's no leaks coming in about the outcome of these investigations, that basically the investigations are pretty tight. Like, they're not leaking information. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, yeah, who's the leakers? The White House are the leakers, and they don't have the information because half the people there are being investigated. Like, it's come on. So they mention the word fake news a bunch of times. I mean, they're definitely talking about fake news. But I'll tell you what, they did not mention one actual fake news site that entire video. It was all just this. So they said 3 resigned as victims of fake news. Americans have nowhere else to go to get real news.
Wow.
So that was the first video. The second video was much shorter. Basically, they walk, you know who Van Jones is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's one of their commentators. He's actually on camera.
Mm-hmm. He's a handsome guy.
Yeah, he's outside kind of maybe taking a smoke break or something. The guy walks up to him and he's like, hey, man, you remember me? We met 3 years ago. And the guy's like, yeah, hey, how's it going? And this is what he says. What do you think is going to happen this week with the Russia thing? And Van Jones says, Russia is a nothing burger. And then another guy walks up on the other side and he starts talking to him instead. Like, that's literally all that was said. And Van Jones, so he apparently, and I didn't know this, I haven't watched like Van Jones obsessively or anything. He doesn't really like talking about Russia. Mm-hmm. And his response was, this is what he said in response to the video. I think Democrats are fooling ourselves if we think that something is going to come out of this investigation that is somehow going to end the Trump presidency and make everything better.
Mm-hmm. The other day, I was watching Chris Hayes, and he called the Russia investigation a nothing burger. And I thought that was a very odd comment.
Right.
And now I get it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's maybe where the Pod Save America guys got their shit burger.
With different. Wait, same shit burger, different bun.
Yeah. So there's a lot of burger analogies going around right now. So I'm in Oregon, and my Senator Ron Wyden has kind of famously said that if anybody asks him about Russia, he's going to respond with talking to them about healthcare, because he doesn't want the healthcare fight to get lost in this Russia talk. So, Van Jones is the only person saying, I don't want to talk about Russia. Like, there are people out there that don't want to talk about it. So then they uploaded a third video, and this one was with a guy named Jimmy Carr. And he's a CNN producer that hasn't worked there that long. He's kind of a young guy, again, just wearing like shorts and a T-shirt, eating at a restaurant. And this guy asks him if he thinks that American voters are stupid. And he basically said, yeah, I think they're stupid as shit for voting for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And basically everything he said was kind of very on the liberal slant of like, yeah, he thinks he doesn't like Donald Trump. And he made kind of a comment about like 90% of my coworkers feel the same way. And so Project Veritas was like, he said 90% of people at CNN hate Donald Trump. And he was like you can kind of see when you watch the video, he was like, 90% of the people that I work with feel the same way. So that could be 5 people and 4 of them feel the same as him.
But who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. Like it
doesn't matter.
Yeah. So let's talk about Project Veritas.
Oh, yes, let's.
Why don't we? Elizabeth, do you have any feelings about Project Veritas that you would like to maybe state right up front?
Yeah, well, it just, these people, this guy has repeatedly, time after time shown that his MO is he tricks people, he misrepresents himself, Then he edits the videos so that they are portraying the situation in a way that did not happen and puts it out there. And then it does damage, and the damage is just done.
Yeah. You're going to,
no matter, even if you come back and, he gets sued and whatever, damage is done.
yeah, you're going to love this.
Acorn, Planned Parenthood.
I have to tell you this. In the videos, he accuses CNN of editing video to make it, appear. And what it is, it was a panel of Trump voters that they interviewed like 60 days after to get their feelings on how things were going. And the raw footage got emailed to James O'Keefe. And so he had, compared it. And CNN had edited an hour's worth of material down to 8 minutes. Okay, you and I have done some editing of long things into shorter things. You have to make cuts, right? Mm-hmm. So when I watched what he showed about the CNN video, I mean, sure, CNN has a left center bias, right? So
I don't know about that.
I think they do. Let me check real quick on media bias fact checker. But I don't agree with that. I don't know. I don't watch CNN. I feel like the analysis that you see on MSNBC has a left bias. Yes.
I just don't feel like I get that from CNN. Like, they get accused of that all the time. I don't know. Like, sometimes I watch Anderson Cooper and he's just smart. It's just... Right. I mean, I don't know if I've said on the podcast before, I think that reality has a left bias.
True.
And so when you're reporting facts, I think it's going to come off that way. And conservatives don't like it. If it doesn't comport with their ideology, then it's a left bias. It's science has a left bias. Real journalism has a left bias. This is for a reason.
So actually, it's funny because I think you just helped prove the point that CNN does have a left center bias because they kind of deal in reality.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it. Like I said, this is the one time that I guess I said something wrong, and I'm okay with that.
No. I wouldn't say you said it wrong. I like actually that quote that you said, that reality has a left center bias. Like, that's true. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, I do think so.
I didn't say that though. I said reality has a left bias, like
left,
full far left bias.
So the way the diagram works is dead center is no bias. And then that's what they say, like left center is just to the left because it's still in the center, but it's to the left of center. And then right center is just to the right. So
yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think that actually left center is probably spot on.
Yeah, I think it's a good place for them to be. I'm just glad they're not right center. Mm-hmm. That's where you get into Fox News. So I know. So yes, they did edit a segment down from 1 hour down to 8 minutes, which is a lot of editing. And I'm sure at that point it's almost just like sound bites. But I think one of the really big differences there is that these people went into CNN, knew they were being recorded, knew why they were being recorded, knew who was recording them. And nobody on these Project Veritas videos can say that. So, Elizabeth, how did this guy get on the scene? Like, how did he start getting into people's heads?
Well, okay, so I read on his Wikipedia page about how, I think it was Rutgers he went to. Yeah, this is kind of funny, but this just sort of shows you how his mind works, right? He went to Rutgers and he worked at the Rutgers newspaper. Yes, the student paper. And he left the paper and founded a paper called the Rutgers Centurion, which is a conservative student paper. Okay. And for his first video, he and other Centurion writers met with Rutgers dining staff to demand the banning of the cereal Lucky Charms from the dining halls. because of its offense to Irish Americans. O'Keefe said the leprechaun mascot presented a stereotype. He intended to have officials lose either way. They either appear insensitive to an ethnic group or look silly by agreeing to ban Lucky Charms.
Okay. Everybody knows that Lucky Charms is like the best sugar cereal out there.
Well, they're magically delicious.
They're magically delicious. And we all know from this podcast that Ireland is a tax haven and you don't mess with tax havens and their cereal. So
anyway, I was like, wow, that is so devious.
Very.
Yeah. And
weirdo.
Yeah. So that's who he is, right? So that just kind of gives you a little bit of a window into him. The article kind of goes on to talk about some other conservative places that he worked, and then he formed Project Veritas in 2010. I heard about him in Project Veritas first with the Acorn videos.
Oh, that rings a bell. Okay.
Yeah. So in 2009, they published some hidden camera recordings, and I'll read just right off of Wikipedia. It says, this was with Hannah Giles, his associate, in which Giles posed as a prostitute and O'Keefe as her boyfriend, a law student, in an attempt to elicit damaging responses from employees of Acorn. And so Acorn used to do a lot of really good work with getting people registered to vote. They were pretty serious force.
And you say used to because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, that is a thing in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
why did they lose their federal funding?
Well, it's the so he framed the undercover recordings with a preface of him dressed in a pimp outfit, which he also wore in TV media interviews. And so it says the videos were recorded during the summer of 2009 and appeared to show low-level Acorn employees in 6 cities providing advice to Giles and O'Keefe on how to avoid detection by authorities of tax evasion, human smuggling, and child prostitution. And so even though he's dressed up like a pimp in these videos that he put out there, when he was actually interacting with the Acorn employees, he was dressed in normal clothing. And it says in here that in one of the videos, you can even see his business shirt. The little bit that's by your hand. What is that bit called?
The cuff. The cuff.
Thank you, the cuff. So that just kind of shows you what he's doing. I just got a picture like this crazy pimp outfit.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, I have questions here. Like, is it like the pimp outfit that you get at the Halloween store that's like super offensive and like purple fur-lined hats and jackets or something? Like
offensive to pimps?
I guess. I mean, just offensive. Like, why would you want to dress up like one? It's, I guess, the offensive part.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So he did
just to people in general who have humanity.
So I think what happened is, so after these videos were released, it also says here on Wikipedia that the U.S. Congress quickly voted to freeze federal funding to Acorn.
Yeah.
Which, what a jackass.
Yeah.
Like, good job bringing down a really good organization.
Yeah, but he won, and he absolutely won that with lies and deception, 100%. And what comes of that? What is the fruit of that? Money from Andrew Breitbart.
Breitbart? That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, and then he goes on to do more work. There was an NPR video. There were Planned Parenthood videos. The election. There was some stuff. There's just a lot. Like, this Wikipedia page has tons of things that he's done, and it's all sort of along the same lines: editing, deception, and he gets away with it.
Well, do you want to feel a little bit better? I found an article by The New Yorker called Sting of Myself. This was written on May 30th, 2016 by Jane Meyer. And it says, amateurish spies like James O'Keefe III attempt to sway the 2016 campaign. So what happens is there's this lady named Dana Garrity, and she works in New York at the Open Society Foundations, which is a non-profit group, and she oversees the pro-democracy programs in Eurasia. And the foundations are the philanthropic creation of George Soros.
Oh, always.
Always goes back to the Soros.
Yeah, that well never runs dry.
So
good. No, that was good. I just saw what you did. It goes back to the Soros. I like that.
we have so many t-shirts we need to make. Oh! So she gets this 7-minute long voicemail, and she's like, what the hell? So she clicks on it, and it says, "Hey, Dana." And the voice sounded like this older American guy. "My name is Victor Kesh. I'm a Hungarian American who represents a foundation that would like to get involved with you and aid what you do in fighting for European values." He then asked Garrity for the name of someone he could talk to about supporting you guys and coordinating with you on some of your efforts, and then requested a callback and left a number. Then she heard a click and a pause and a second male voice. And the person who'd introduced himself as Kesh says, "Don't say anything before I hang up the phone." So she continued to listen, and this man's voice suddenly took on a more commanding tone. He failed to hang up, and unaware that he was still being recorded, seemed to be conducting a meeting about how to perpetrate an elaborate sting on Soros. And said, "What needs to happen is for someone other than me to make 100 phone calls like that to Soros, to his employees, to the Democracy Alliance, a club of wealthy liberal political donors that Soros helped to fund. Helped to found, and basically described sending in people into Soros offices as an undercover agent who could talk the talk with Open Society executives. And on the recording, the goal wasn't necessarily spelled out, but they definitely got the plan of what this guy wanted to do. And she's like listening to this. They talk about this girl is like listening to this, like realizing that they're trying to use her. She's hearing their plan to do a covert operation on her.
Wow.
I mean, how weird is that?
Wow.
But so here's the good news. James O'Keefe does not always win. He's an idiot at heart who will leave a voicemail for you explaining to you what he's trying to do.
I don't think it's fair to call him an idiot. I mean, who hasn't done that? Who hasn't accidentally forgot to hang up the phone, and then you start to talk about your nefarious plans?
You know what?
I think I saw that like on the Jeffersons or
No,
something.
it was Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Moose and squirrel.
Yeah, so, he doesn't always win. There's also a Snoops article about one of his things.
Really?
Yeah, it says Project Veritas.
It was a Snoops article?
Oh, motherfucker.
I don't know that website.
People are going to think that you just stick in recordings from the last episodes, because
they're not going to think that.
The same thing over and over again.
They don't think that bad.
So there's a Snopes article called Project Veritas Election 2016 Rigging Videos. James O'Keefe's Project Veritas released 4 2016 election-related videos supposedly depicting rampant election fraud and misconduct on parts of the Democrats. You're never going to guess what.
What?
They weren't true.
Yeah.
So what really pisses me off about this guy is he thinks that he is a undercover journalist.
Yeah, he calls himself a guerrilla journalist, and that just could not be further from the truth.
I'm glad that you said the word guerrilla journalist, because I want to tell you about a real journalist. I was looking up undercover journalists to kind of talk about the difference between what they do and what James O'Keefe does. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell you about this guy because I was reading this and I was like almost in tears, like right when you called me to start this episode because of what this guy did and what he went through. So this is an article called The 10 Most Courageous Undercover Journalists. It's from November 9th of 2012. And it's on a website called Career News Insider. So this guy's name is Tim Lopes, Lopes. Probably saying it wrong. Wouldn't be surprised. So this is just two paragraphs. I'm just going to read them to you. So it says, Brazilian journalist Tim Lopes grew up in a Rio de Janeiro favela, a slum. And it was most likely this background that furnished him with his old school technique of working the streets for stories. Lopes proceeded to go undercover in the favelas to film illegal activities with a hidden camera. These were dangerous and often neglected areas where the city government had no control. Instead, criminal gangs and drug lords ruled. In 2001, Lopes helped collect undercover footage showing drug dealers and traffickers openly patrolling the streets with AK-47s. The report resulted in the police taking action and ultimately a decrease in revenue for the drug lords. Lopes gained a reputation for this kind of work, and on June 2nd, 2002, drug traffickers kidnapped him. Lopes was beaten, brutally tortured, set on fire, and murdered. In the end, he gave his life for his career. Mm-hmm. That is an undercover journalist.
Yeah.
Doing everything that he can to make a difference. Mm-hmm.
Much respect to him, and if we mispronounced his name, we're so sorry.
Like 7 times because they kept saying it in the article.
Yeah. I think it might be Lopez. I mean, I can see why Lopes. You would. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, Lopes.
Yeah, I think it might.
I'm really bad at Spanish.
Yeah,
and even worse at Portuguese, which is what I think they speak in Brazil.
Yes. Okay. At least you got that right.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What Project Veritas does is they go into situations and they try to test people to see how they'll respond to illegal or immoral situations. Mm-hmm. Basically, they go in and try to goad people into screwing up. Mm-hmm. And this is not situations where agencies or these people have been accused of this behavior in the past.
He just doesn't like them based on his personal philosophies. And so he goes and he tries to entrap them.
Right. Entrapment is the perfect word. So, like in the case of Acorn, they lost their federal funding and it ultimately led to their shutdown.
And there were Planned Parenthood videos that were damaging to them as well.
And it gives people disinformation like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody like a real undercover journalist that is going in, they're recording things that are already happening. They don't make it happen. That's a big difference to me. And part of the reason why this is different than your typical fake news guy. Because he's creating it along with reporting on it.
Yeah. No.
I think we're giving
fake news for sure.
Project Veritas gets a big fake news from us. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I listened to your advice. It sucked. It was not accurate. You are incorrect. You asked America to listen to fake news, and you should probably resign like those people from CNN did.
But you know what, though? I'm glad that you listened to her, though, because we probably wouldn't have done this episode, and we would not have talked about Project Veritas. And it is exactly the type of thing that a fake news podcast should be talking about.
That's right. Oh, thanks, Sarah Huckabee.
So it worked out well.
For the episode idea. So this episode was not from an article or from a link that a listener sent us. It was directly from the White House spokesperson. It's funny because when I was looking up undercover journalism and I just Googled like undercover reporter like ethics just to see like what came up. This article came up called The Ethics of Undercover Journalism. And I click on it and it literally, the subtitle says, "Why Journalists Get Squeamish Over James O'Keefe's Tactics." And I was like, holy shit. I didn't even, like, I wasn't even looking for something about him. And it still was about him.
Nice.
So he's definitely has a terrible reputation out there. Don't trust him. Don't listen to him. If anybody that you know is talking about him, let them know about his behaviors and why they're not to be trusted. So
cool. Yeah. Well, it's been fun.
Has been. Anything else that you want to, just talk about?
Well, I think that if anyone out there has anything that they want to talk about, send it to us on Twitter. We're at Podcast Fake News, or on Gmail. Our email address is podcastfakenews@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook.
Leave us a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcast. They renamed it. It's no longer iTunes. It's Apple Podcasts now.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, iTunes still exists.
Uh-huh.
The podcast stuff is on Apple Podcasts. So I've been hearing podcasters make that switch to that verbiage.
Oh, okay. Well, we gotta.
It's all fancy now.
Yeah, because you know how like technological we are.
Totally. That's why you heard me read Sarah Huckabee Sanders' statements to you.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it.
Yeah. But hey, until next time we're gonna have Nick on.
Yes. Next time. I think maybe last time we'd said next time, but
technically I don't think we said next time. We just said we're going to have Nick on.
Okay. Well, if we did say it, it was a lie because you're hearing this now. And Nick is definitely going to be next time.
Yes, for sure.
We're going to be talking to Nick. And so right now it's the future. Like you're listening to it in the future.
Yes.
And then, and actually when you hear it, it will still be the future. Like if you listen to this on Saturday when we release it, we still have not talked to Nick yet.
Unless it'll be a Black Mirror situation. It's a dystopian future.
Nick is like, I didn't sign up for that. What are they talking about? I just want to talk about my work. I don't want to get sucked into some Black Mirror situation.
It's only 9:00 now, and I had that coffee earlier, so I'm like, ooh, new web series that I heard, new series on Netflix. I can go check out. I can probably get through 6 episodes.
Oh my God, you gotta work in the morning.
I know. Don't remind me. Shut up. Okay.
I don't. I
got
could
up even more.
I wanted to.
All right. Well, guys, until next time, don't forget,
spread jam,
not lies.